Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere, with just an iPad or an iPhone, and no wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ's markerless motion capture in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, analyzing posture and gait mechanics, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit them at kineticiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. You know, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Metabolic Elite be one of the sponsors of the Zelos Podcast. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. I've seen a lot of supplements and performance enhancement things over the years, but they pair clinical experience with innovation, like Lipitab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, and trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. So learn more at metabolicelite.co. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, ZELOS. You've got it tuned into the Zelos Podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Snyder. This week, Ricky Scruggs is my guest, a life performance coach with Centerfield Coaching. Before we get underway, I've got some online courses I'd like to share with you. One is exploring foot wedges. Another one is posture-based soft tissue mobilization. I've got open and closed chain foot mobilization and more on my website. Check it out at rockysnyder.com. I hope to see you in Providence, Rhode Island this August 20th to 22nd for the Perform Better Training Summit, and just go to performbetter.com, check it out, click subscribe, and here we go. Hey, Ricky, welcome to the Zelos Podcast. I'm looking forward to our conversation. How are things going with you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate being here. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Now, you just came back from a marathon of golf, so I'll understand if you're a little bit on the low energy side, but I have a feeling you have a way of just ramping up the energy whenever you need it. Is that true?
Yeah, I get excited about this kind of thing, so it usually isn't a problem.
Well, give us the listening audience an understanding of Ricky Scruggs, who he is, where he came from, what he's doing.
I sort of my whole first part of my life, we talked about Fred Lynn in the pre-interview a little bit, and I fell in love with Fred Lynn in 75, and I just wanted to be a baseball player. I realized now that the reason I wanted to be a baseball player is because my father and my uncle loved and respected the players, and I wanted their love and respect, right? And so I swung the bat 250 times a night, broke every record in my high school, which is a small town, not a big deal, 50, 60,000 people. But they hosted what is the Connie Mack World Series, and they've had it forever, the best amateur tournament they have. I got to be on the all-tournament team with King Griffey Jr. and some other, Brett Boone and some of these guys that were big names. And so got to play college, JUCO, and Division I. And then played about 4 years of independent pro. And but my whole life was baseball at that time. And I found that being so tied to it, my identity, everything, it becomes a big strain whenever you run into that wall, when you're not playing as much as you thought you should. And so that led me to retire, basically. I went into sales and corporate world and couldn't find satisfaction there even after I started making over $150,000 a year. And so then I opened up a baseball academy here in Tucson, the first of its kind, 26,000 square foot facility. Got to work with guys like Brent Strom, a guy named Jim Murphy, who's really recently hit the scene last year. His book was in the Super Bowl. Brown was reading it on the sidelines, and everybody went nuts about it. He Jim wrote the foreword in my book, and I helped him with all those ideas. I not only know what's in it, but I know what's not in it and why. And it's probably the number one, peak performance book out right now as far as sales. So, yeah. So I'm into peak performance big time. And after I got into there and worked with, these guys, I started realizing that some of the principles that I feel like were downloaded to my mind, are much more effective and much more powerful than I gave them credit for. I was teaching, young kids these things 20 years ago, and now I'm realizing that it's some pretty potent stuff. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Right on. Universal truths. I had a buddy on the show not too long ago. He's one of the Perform Better presenters, Chase Koff, out of Florida, working with athletes down there. And he blends in the spiritual truths or principles, which carry over into a whole bunch of world belief systems, into his mental skills coaching or goal attainment or mental performance. There's so many different kind of terms that are being out there that more or less I think are fairly synonymous with one another. But I get a sense that that's what you do as well, where you take certain kind of spiritual tenets or concepts and overlay them into mental performance. Am I far off the track there?
Not at all. I mean, I remember trying to get some sports psychology stuff and some performance stuff when I was playing, and it seemed to come up short in my mind because it would be telling you, one example is like, hey, you can't care too much. You have to have this, the desire is a beautiful thing and it's something you need. But if you get down to the pressure moment, you got to kind of release the results and stay, process focused. And I was like, how do you do that? Like my whole life is wrapped up in this sport, right? If I go 4 for 4 in front of the scout, I might get somewhere. If I don't, I won't, And so, when I started working in the academy, I discovered some principles through scripture that kind of answered some of those questions better than I had ever heard in sports psychology. And so I keep it very practical and I keep it very level-headed, but there are some ways when I talk to an athlete, I can't just tell them, hey, this is what you should do. I need to sell them a practical reason why this is going to work for you so that they can actually jump in and do it. Yeah, plenty of examples if you want to dive into some performance stuff.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Okay. So like releasing the results, let's just say I'm sitting over $1 million putt, or I really feel like this is a big game for college scouts watching me. I'm playing basketball or whatever. How do I literally release those results? How do I logically release those results? Well, I was thinking about desire. In fact, Jim Murphy, he came and interviewed me one time in 2011 and said, hey, what is it when you desire too much? Like, how do you not desire too much? And at that time, I was in a theology class and I was studying the fall. And so if you look at that story as what it is, it's actually it's a poem. I believe it's 100% true, the same way that some poetry is true, some things like that. So anyway, the Adam and Eve ate the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And if you listen to what the serpent said, he said, well, if you eat that, your eyes will be open and you'll know good from evil. And I thought to myself, yeah, why would God not want us to know good from evil? That's dumb. And, but then you think about who said it. It was the serpent who's supposedly lying. And you think about what it actually says is that all God said was it's the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And so whether it's an allegory or whatever, what it is us thinking that we know what's good or bad for us. And if you think about it in realistic terms, we don't. If I fall out of a tree and break my arm, I feel like that's bad, right? I don't get to play for part of my season. But if that kept me from climbing 5 rungs up the next week and breaking my neck and being paralyzed, is it good or bad now? We don't know. And so you would have to literally be God and know the beginning from the end in order to know what's good or bad for you. So I talk to athletes. I'm like, okay, we know we want to do our best. We know we want to give our opponent our best. We want to give our coaches our best and everything like that. So it's not a question of competing as hard as we can. But why would I hyperfixate on a result that I don't really know if it's good or bad? If I'm freaking out about striking out here, I don't know that if striking out on the guy's sliders right here is the reason why I get a cookie, in the 9th inning to win the whole ball game. So I try to logically get people to say, hey, I don't know what's good or bad for me. We really don't know that. So why am I going to focus on results? That's just one example.
So living in the moment, just being present,
Yeah.
and not attaching anything to it.
for a logical reason other than, hey, we should be present, right? I want to know that it's really not wise. It's wasted energy to think about, oh, I got to get this hit, because maybe I don't got to get this hit for life to turn out the way, it should. I believe things are happening for me, not to me.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's deep
well
stuff.
then,
I know.
how do you define success? I mean, I don't get a sense that you're doing it by wins or records or championships, but how, and that definition of success, has that evolved throughout your career?
Oh, absolutely. My success used to be going 4 for 4. I wanted to be the best hitter on the planet. Ted Williams was my guy, as well as Fred Lynn, and say, you know what, I want to be the very best, and that's success. You have to win. And what happens then is your identity gets tied to your performance. And when, I ended up getting signed by a guy, and then Ron Whitmire came, who had played with the A's, and I got benched for no reason just before the season, right before the season. And I went from being the 3-hole hitter, being the best hitter on any team I've ever been on, to literally couldn't sniff the diamond. And, you think, well, not playing sucks. But when your identity's tied to what you do, it's like a death. It's like I'm losing who I am. And then when I would get an opportunity, it was just way too much pressure put on myself. And so I realized, looking back, that I have to understand that my identity is not tied to what I do. My identity has to be who I am. And success in that situation is knowing who you are and knowing why you're there, right? So yeah, we take athletes, we walk them all the way up to the Super Bowl or whatever they want to be a part of. And if you continue digging as to why they want to be a part of it, you'll find that it's not the money or the success they want. They want the feeling that they think that's going to give them. And the feeling is almost always, actually always, attached to relationships, attached to the social environment. So success, you can go out today and be in the Super Bowl if you have the right relationship with yourself, with the game, with your fellow teammates, and really your opponent as well.
Okay, so then if you're, let's say, designing the ideal education for a young coach entering the profession today, what would you teach in regards to like a certification program that other programs often overlook? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually got a nonprofit called Building Champions for Life, and we've done some trainings for coaches. And the number one thing is we don't try to say, oh, you want to be I've heard a lot of people talk about, you don't want to have transactional relationships, you want to have transformational assets, and you want to build good citizens. And yeah, we all love that, but we want to win. And so I start with the fact that if you want to win, if you want the best peak performance model in the world, it is a character building situation, because that's what makes a guy get a hit or sink the putt or sink the shot in that moment, is when his character, when he knows who he is and he knows that he belongs on that team. So I teach them how to go about that, where to start with it, and what's the most important things. But I find that a lot of people say, well, now you're talking about, raising good kids. I think they're one. The path to the very best coach who raises great kids and citizens is the same path to winning. And we've seen coaches do it naturally and do it for years, John Woodens of the world and these people that talk about it. But mine just brings it down to the practical, that we want to love our opponents. We want to love our teammates. And really it comes down to that. Like, what does it look like to build strong relationships within my team?
So what if the love isn't there? How do you build it? How do you create it or fertilize it? How do you let it come out?
When you say the love isn't there, you mean for your opponent or for anybody around you? You're super self-centered.
Yeah. Let's just say that you
Like
have
I was, you
that
mean? Like I
prima
was?
donna. But if you're hoping to create love relationships with your teammates and with other teams and those around you, how do you grow that? What do you do?
Well, I talk to an athlete and I say, hey, you want to be powerful, right? What's more powerful, love or hate? What's more powerful, connection or animosity? Actually, I might kill for hate and I might kill for love, you know what I mean? But I won't die for hate, but I'll die for love. So which one's more powerful? It's the most powerful thing in the universe. And the relationship there is different. If I think that this guy, if I have a misunderstanding about what competition really is, I'll think that I'm going to degrade this person or they're going to degrade me if whoever loses something, right? But if I understand what competition is, at its root, it means to seek together. That's the actual root of the origin, to seek together. So what are we seeking together? We're not seeking the win together because we can't get that together. I'm seeking one another's best. So if I was competing with you, Rocky, I want to find out what your best is. I'm not only here to not harm you, I'm here for you. I switched the focus to my job today is to make Rocky rise to the highest occasion he's ever been. If he don't, he's going to lose and he's going to learn. Or if he does, he's going to become the better version of himself he's ever been in order to beat me. I think that's a more powerful thing than, oh my gosh, I hope I can beat this guy because I'm going to be diminished somehow if I don't, or, you know what I mean?
I do. It's quite the paradigm shift of the average way of thinking. It's just like hoping that your opponent fails or falls or makes a mistake and you hear it in the announcers when you're listening to sporting events, that it really comes down to who makes more mistakes.
Yeah. And if you're hoping, and here's the thing, this isn't just about the scriptures or what's good or love is great. No, this is about when I study mental performance and I study how the mind works, we realize that it doesn't hear the word don't. So if I tell you don't swing at the high pitch, guess what?
You swing at the high pitch.
You just had a little picture, and we know that our mind works towards the pictures that we think about the most. Well, if I'm thinking about my opponent failing, he's not feeling that. He's not getting any of that. I'm receiving all that. But if I say I want my opponent to be excellent, I want him to be amazing because I know that's what's best for all of us in the end. It's going to raise me to a higher level, and let's go, baby. I enjoy a challenge, right? Because I know it's going to make me more. That energy that you start to feel, that's power, that's strength. So the strength is to enjoy the toughest opponent you could ever face. I remember whenever Mike Tyson fought Razor Ruddock, I'm giving away my age right now, and he was like, man, he hits so hard, right? He hits like a mule kicks, right? I love it. He was beating me up, and I wish we could keep fighting. He's like, I want to keep going. I'm like, this guy's a warrior, man. This dude is badass. He's like, you know what I mean? I was like, looking at this guy going, wow. There's a big difference between that and like wishing your opponent, would not do so well so that you could win. That's such a weak mindset.
I love it. Okay. When was the epiphany? When was the moment of enlightenment, or were there several that brought you to this point where you realized that it's not about exercise or programming, but it's more about influencing people in the direction you've just been speaking about?
Yeah, well, a couple different things happened. I mean, one was just I would have athletes in high school, teaching high school athletes, and I was a hitting instructor by trade, but I would take them back and I would try to find out what they want to be. And I knew that there was a hidden, invisible, intangible world that controls this world. And we know that when you see a chair, it was an idea first, it was a blueprint second, and it's a chair third. And so when I would do hitting instruction, I would, if a guy's pulling his shoulder, most hitting instructors I would hear would want him to keep your shoulder in, and they're working on the physical. I knew that I needed to find out, is there ball fear? Is there a spiritual reason why this guy's pulling his shoulder? Find out he's not afraid of the ball, then is there a mental reason? And then I'd find out, well, you bring the ball in here and he's letting it travel too long, and his arms and his bat are too long once you let it travel that far in. And so he's trying to bail away wisely to make space so he can hit the ball in the screws. You just show him that to hit the ball out front, and now it makes sense to him to be able to not pull his shoulder, and he stops pulling his shoulder, right? So it kind of evolved from this idea that there's a hidden, invisible, intangible world, and we need to start there if we want to get the results in the physical. And a guy named Brent Strom, who's, probably the number one pitching coach over the last 10, 20 years, he was actually out of baseball. People were not understanding him. He was ahead of his time. He's a brilliant man. And what I was trying to teach kids, he comes in and just goes, the body will organize itself around the goal. He was seeing that we were way too mechanical. Americans were throwing way not as hard as the Venezuelans and the Dominicans and stuff because we were getting too much instruction. And so he started saying, look, it's about intent and conviction. Give the kid a goal and watch the body organize itself around it, right? So he would start there. And so I started playing these things in my mind. And I'm like, wow, this is the way to coach. We want to coach from the inside out, right? We don't want to coach from the outside in, because then we'll get little action figures that look like they can hit, but they got nothing. They got wet newspaper in their hand when they go to hit. So yeah, that's part of it.
So I don't think I'm asking you to answer what you just answered, but along that same line, and you might
You're
say
asking when
this
the
is exactly
epiphany
what I'm
came?
talking about. Now, well, yeah. Did you have a moment that changed your perspective,
Yeah.
that forced you to look at your old experiences and realize there's another way of doing it?
I mean, one of the biggest ones was I was sitting in my academy. I had spent all my own money. I pulled my whole 401k out. The budget for that thing was supposed to be like 400 grand. And I, went to every bank, had all the business plans, and everybody said no. So I pulled out and I did it on a budget. I got the old turf from the Atlanta Falcon Dome at a cheap price. And for about $160,000, $170,000, I built this place. And I mean, I'm on my hands and knees. I'm at 2:00 in the morning, I'm working my corporate job and I'm fixing this place up. And about a year in, I became a Christian, like really became a Christian. I kind of realized that I had always kind of thought I was a Christian, but I really kind of surrendered. And so I thought, when you're a Christian, you got to be a nice guy, because I was a competitor like anybody. I would get pissed off and let's go, man, let's fight. And so I found out this guy was trying to open an academy down the street. He was trying to steal my instructors and take all the clientele, and he's doing stuff. And I'm pissed, right? And so I'm talking to God. I'm like, you know what? For 35 years, you make me a competitor, and I want to just go kill this guy. And now I'm supposed to be, now what am I supposed to do? Just let him take food out of my kid's mouth? I mean, what the hell's going on? So I'm mad. I'm cussing, screaming at God. And I hear, love your enemies. And I go, love your enemies? What does that mean? At that time in my life, I was on this kick of, I'd been hearing these scriptures my whole life when I was a little kid, thinking they mean something. But now when I would hear them, I'd go and look. What does it actually say around that, so I can see what it really means? So I went and looked, and it said, love your enemies, for he causes the rain to fall on the righteous and the unrighteous, and he causes the sun to shine on the righteous and the unrighteous. And I saw that shine, and being a baseball guy, immediately I thought, wow, it might be their day to shine. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. He says, I cause good things to happen to good people, bad things to happen to good people, and vice versa. It might be their day to shine, and it might be mine. I'm to love my opponents. And so I got to thinking about it. I was like, wow, I got to bring this guy everything I got and just be better at my business. My business has to go to another level. We need to start doing more for our clients, so that if he takes my business, well, so more power to him. But so it's a way to, it became a non-animosity. It became a, hey man, you want to know my secrets? Come on in. I got nothing to fear, because I'm just going to go to another level, man. I'm just going to take you out. And if I don't take you out, guess what? We're both going to grow like crazy. And then who benefits? The customers, the clients. So that's where I realized that. And it changed me, because I used to be a guy who would kind of struggle when I'm competing with a friend, or I remember I was at a tryout camp for the Cubs, and out of 80 people, who do I got to hit off of? For my one at bat, my college roommate who drove there with me. And it affected me. It would, if I had this mindset now, I'd be like, hey, guess what? You hang me a curveball, I got an obligation to hit it 400 feet, because I love you, buddy. You might have to go, because it might be his day to go figure out he needs to go become a carpenter or whatever. But you're messing with God's plan in someone's life if you don't stay present, if you don't give your best, and if you don't love them.
Yeah, going from a fear-centric to a love-centric shift, that's huge and powerful. I mean, that's what I hear you saying, really.
Yeah. Love casts out all fear, right? There's no fear in it. So even back when I was coaching little kids years and years, I would say selfishness or self-consciousness is selfishness. If you're on the on-deck circle and you're getting really nervous about what's going to happen, you're worried about you. Why don't you start thinking about, what can I do for my team right here? How can I get a job done? That little shift of just thinking outside of yourself will calm your fears, help you perform. And that's what we're trying to do. Trying to have those great moments, right? We want to be a part of them. It's so fun.
We're just going to take a quick pause from this conversation to acknowledge our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. The Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere with just an iPad or iPhone. No wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. At the forefront of Metabolic Elite is Jim Lavelle, internationally recognized clinical pharmacist, a chief science officer at Lifetime, and the co-chair for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. He's got over 4 decades of experience and has guided Olympic athletes, professional teams, and leading health institutions. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. Like Lipitab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, it's trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, ZELOS.
Coaches, they often have more influence than they realize. Has there been a moment when an athlete shared something with you years later that made you realize you had an impact on their life?
Oh man. I mean, I hear this stuff all the time. I mean, I got a buddy named Brian who we meet every week for about 2.5 hours as coaching each other, accountability, and talking about it. And we talk about how we got letters from kids. He's got this one where this kid became a fighter pilot and he says, I think it was Billy Graham that said a coach has more influence on families in a year than your local pastor will in a lifetime. That's how much influence a coach has. And so ever since then, I've always thought about that. But yeah, I've got, kids who became engineers and do stuff, and they come up to me and say, hey, I remember when you said this. And it's always like, I don't remember saying that, man. I don't, but they're listening and they're watching, and you really want to have the right mindset. Because I coached for years, and it was really an ego thing where I'm like, I got to have a win. And, as a coach, your team will take on your energy and your mindset. Like if you see a hyped up coach, the team's hyped up. You got a laid back coach, the team is calm. And if you're in the last inning wondering, is this team going to come back? I promise you, your team is wondering the same thing. So you might as well adopt this powerful mindset and go at it, because it's almost by osmosis. The kids are going to pick it up. I mean, that's the way I've seen it. It's been my experience.
So you've got athletes that are coming to you over the years, and maybe they've been let down by previous coaches. Is there a method that you use to intentionally build trust, especially when they're skeptic?
Oh, with the kids?
Yeah.
Build trust. Well,
or anybody, because I know you work outside of that, and I think you delve into the corporate ladder as well. So it's not just exclusively athletics.
Yeah, you'll have bad coaches and you'll have bad bosses. There's no question about that. The question is how do you react to it and how do you do it? So if I'm the coach and I get to be the leader, I'm going to make that. Once you make my team, I may bench you, I may do a lot to you, but you are on my team. First of all, you belong. The shirt on your back, you're last team I coached, I think, was the Lions. You're a lion, and there's nothing you're going to do, short of, you're my guy. That's the first thing. Your performance has nothing to do with whether or not you are on my team, and I'm going to do everything I can for you. So that's one thing. But when I'm talking to people who have bad bosses and stuff like that, some of the best lessons I got were years after I had a really bad coach, and I'm like, he was right. So first thing is, when you think you've got a coach that's not on your side, you may be wrong. He may be on your side. And when I went into corporate world, the guy who was really nice to me and seemed like he's taking me under his wing, and turns out he's trying to use me. The guy who was mean to me and told me the truth and said, get your act together, he was a guy who was actually cared about his team, and we ended up being friends to this day. So again, we don't know everything. The number one thing you need to think is, I don't know, right? I need to do my job, and let's see what happens. Let's go see what happens. Because the judgmental mind, my best coach I ever had was probably Bo Hall. He was my JUCO coach. And I talk all this philosophy and I talk all this depth and stuff like this. This guy was raised in Wilcox. He's a country guy, big old great man. And his way of having us, he would say, "Hey, boys," he'd get in the huddle and say, "Let's go see what happens." I look back at that mindset and I'm like, wow, what he was saying in one phrase to be present and see what happens, not go make something happen. Don't go try and predict things. So yeah, some coaches are just naturals, man. They're amazing.
Right on. So there's a word that's been kind of circulating quite a bit in conferences and social media, and that's the word grit, mental toughness.
Yeah.
Do you think people misunderstand it? Like, what is it about, like, how you define mental toughness, let's say? How does that compare next to grit or what others are saying?
Yeah. I think, like I said, you'll die for love. And I think that mental toughness is realizing that challenges are there to make you more whole and complete. And this is a belief system, that's really hard for kids to adopt and even executives. I get people that are steeped in it, and you have to walk them down a road that eventually there becomes a tipping point where they begin to believe these things that when you look back at your life, the things that you thought were the worst things turned out to really make you more whole and complete. And so then we want to look to the future on that and go, this thing I think is here and it's going to be the end of my career or the end of my thing. Can I embrace it and get joy? Because joy isn't what's happening to you. Joy is an inner attitude that I'm going to be made more complete and whole and lacking nothing. Everything is happening for me, not to me. So that's really, for me, mental toughness and resilience comes down to understanding that I don't care if this works out or not, right? I'm not trying to make things work out. I'm trying to learn and grow and become a better version of myself, and in the process, lift up the other people around me.
Well, that seems to require a leap of faith. Would you
And
say, like, with
again, if you don't believe that a chair was an idea before it's a chair, if you think the physical world is what is all there is, you're going to have a hard time having a leap of faith, right? I mean, faith is just the unseen world, and when I behave in a belief system, I bring the unseen world into whatever environment I'm at. And think about it; it's the world of unlimited possibilities, right? It's like, Rocky, did you play baseball? Did you play basketball? What'd you do?
I never organized sports in that regard. It was more individual based, whether it was wrestling, gymnastics, whitewater,
Right. So
rafting, kayaking, blah, blah, blah.
yeah. So you done anything that's measurable, that where you say, well, I ran this time, or I did anything,
Yes.
beat this guy? Okay. So tell me the arena. What would it be in?
Let's say marathon. Wanted to do it in under
Okay.
4 hours.
All right. So if I said to you, what's the fastest time you ever ran a marathon?
3 hours, 54 minutes, 55 seconds.
That's amazing. I ran one time and it was just under 5 hours, I think. I barely lived. Anyway, I was challenged to do it and I was very prideful, so I did it. But that's impressive, okay? But think about how you felt when you said that. And this is, again, we want to not put limits on ourselves. We want to be in the unlimited world. What you did was you tangibly have done that, and it's there. And it's not only a great time, which is kind of good to focus on successes, but it also becomes a bit of a barrier. So now I'm going to ask you the same question again, and I want you to answer it a different way. I want you to say, I don't know. I haven't run it yet. So what's the fastest time you ever ran a marathon?
I don't know. I haven't run it yet.
How did that feel?
Inspiring, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, let's go.
You just tapped into, wow, I'm not going to limit myself to what I've done in the past. There's a possibility. And for me, I'm like, I don't think I could run one again. I was 30 when I did one, but I like to think, you know what I mean? What's the hardest thing you ever did? Run a marathon. What's the hardest thing you ever did? I don't know.
I haven't done it yet. Yeah.
You get this feeling and you feel it lift. You feel an energy transfer. So one of the worst things when I was coaching in 2023, we had a very successful season, got coach of the year. All these things were great, but I never did get these kids out of that dang telephone to predict whether they were going to win or lose. Man, they got it all figured out. The stats are dead. I kept telling them, you guys, you're looking at dead things. You want to live, you want to be great, get your face out of dead things. As soon as it's a stat, it's dead. And we want to look at things that are alive. We want to look at the unlimited possibilities of what we can do. And by goodness, we lost a game that these people, this team was on paper not as good as us, but we had already thrown our jocks out there and thought we didn't need to play, and I didn't overcome it as a coach. It's on me. But the second chapter of my book is called The Score, and it's the tendency to put your value on results. And it really is, it's a poison. We want to get away from the score. It's for the fans. It's not for the players, not for the coach.
Let's talk about your book for a second. Throw out the title, and when did it come out?
Just published it in January. Never have had a big launching party. I haven't been very good at promoting, but it's called The Champion Within: Overcome Approval Addiction and Compete with Greatness. Because I think one of the main problems we have is that we are looking for some sort of approval. I think for me, I could trace my love of sports to that. And it's kind of a situation where you learn how to, the first 3 chapters are the game, which is the world's tendency to compare us to each other. The second chapter is The Score, is our tendency to put our value on our results. The third chapter is the jersey, which is our need for significance and what makes us, it plays right into the other 2. And then the middle 3 chapters are the umpire, the program, and the rule book. The umpire is this little voice that tells us whether we're safe or out, we're included or we belong. The program is our parents, our peers, the press, which is social media now. And when I was teaching this 20 years ago, it was the press. And then our past, your peers, your parents, and the press. Those things really inform what you think is possible for you. And you've got to break out of it, right? You can't be programmed. And then the rule book, of course, is our tendency to think if I don't do things exactly right. It's like the rules of the swing are not as important. I always say I'd rather face a guy who's present, engaged, and competing, who has a bad swing, than a guy who's got a perfect swing, but he's not present. I'd rather face the guy with a good swing any day. So it's this tendency to want to do things right and to sort of judge ourselves and want to get away from that. Then the last 3 chapters are called The Rivalry, which is, I give what I think is a biblical or a godly view of competition. Because I don't think there's anything bad in this world. I think it's only been twisted to look bad. It's all good, so to speak. So we want to know what competition really is, and then it's the man in the space in between, which is the definition of a true champion. He's the man. It's I won't give it away, but it's really a cool idea of you choose to be a champion. It's an absolute choice. And then the last one is the trade, that you trade your identity for that of a champion, and it really transforms you, and you end up with the traits of a champion, which are, a whole myriad of things that bring you down to being present. And and then there's 2 extra innings: long-term contract, which is living life in light of eternity, that this isn't the only thing going on. And then what is the last one? Oh, that the world would know. The reason I want to be out on the field, the reason I want to do anything with excellence, is to point to something greater than myself, to point to there's something amazing about this life, whatever you want to call it. And I want people to be inspired to that. I want to inspire people. We either perform to try to get attention or to get approval or to get the money, get something, or we're there to give something. And I think giving is the more powerful choice.
Beautiful. I love how it kind of resembles, the theme that you have, how you address it or marry it to baseball.
It's not about baseball. The book's not about baseball.
No, not at all.
Like baseball.
So, because it can carry over into any aspect of life, I totally get that. Earlier when we're having this conversation, you mentioned an example of somebody climbing a tree and falling, breaking their arm, and that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, and so on. And it brought up a memory of an Asian parable about a farmer and his son, and the horses, they were poor, and suddenly these horses came through, and you know the story I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I write about it. I mean, that's a famous story. And again, when I heard that the first time, I thought, I can look back at my past and go, maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. And I can kind of forget what I think are bad things. I'm trying to project it into the future and let's be wise like the farmer and be like, hey, when I'm playing in a game, I'm not going to be, we'll see, I love
Exactly.
that story. That's better than my broken arm one. It's so.
We'll see. So the reason why I bring it up is because, again, these concepts how do I say they transfer over into many different belief systems. And so, although you are, as you say, your belief is within the Christian world, but I don't get a sense that you stay solidly in that world itself. Like, question
No,
being is that if
truth
a
is truth.
Buddhist came to you, would you work with a Buddhist? If a
Oh,
Hasidic Jew came to you, would you work with them, and so on?
I'd be more readily to do that because I don't think of as God as like a bearded man in the sky, right? I mean, the Bible says God is love. So I have a very clear with my clients. We're going to define love in three is kind of the magic number. There's three different prongs of what love is. And now we're going to approach situations and I have an actual formula for how I can love rather than just a feeling, right? Truth is truth in any religion. I mean, there's tons of truth, right? And so I want to think of, I want to think of love, truth, and grace. I really need to be gentle on myself, and one of the reasons I'm a Christian is because I think all kinds of religions have all kinds of great truths, all kinds of great methods for living in this life and all those things. But grace is something that isn't, in my mind, readily available in all those to where, hey, I really can know that I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to be perfect. I want to be excellent. I want to love the people around me. I want to do everything, but I need to be gentle on myself. This self-judgment is a real enemy when it comes to this life, right? Beating yourself up.
Very much so.
Yeah. So that's why I subscribe to the Christianity, but I mean, you don't have to be a Christian to work. I mean, I almost prefer it not be because I want to be practical. I want to use human behavior. I'm also certified in neurolinguistic programming, which in my mind is just renewing the mind with words because again, almost anything you find that's really true in the secular world, I can show you a scripture that backs it up, right? So I'm not really just talking about, you know, the power of life and death is in the tongue, it says. The things you think, it's the whole don't swing at a high pitch. If I tell you don't swing at a high pitch, those words are going to affect your pictures, it's going to affect your actions, it's going to affect how you feel. So everything that's made is made through words. That's kind of what it says. So yeah, it's complete. It's the only thing I've found that's completely whole, doesn't have any holes in it. Problem is you don't get to take a lot of credit because it's really not about you. And that's the hard part.
Stepping outside yourself.
That's how you
Yes.
win though, right? I mean, won't anybody who's been a part of a big championship team, what do they remember? They
Out
remember
of body experiences almost,
yeah,
right?
the connection, the camaraderie, the synergy that you created, that the coach created, and how you got to be a part of that. And that's what we're all craving. We just lose sight of it at the higher levels. It becomes less, it seems to be less and less about those things. One time I was talking to a guy named Alan Zenter. He took 18 years to get to the big leagues, got caught up in a lot of things, trying to like do everything his coaches said and do all this stuff. But in the end, I said, hey, Alan, what separates the big leaguers who really are amazing, to the other ones? Is it talent, whatever? He said, those guys who take a little league approach to the big league game are always better. And I thought, wow, man, they're having fun. They just want to be a part of the team. They're just enjoying it.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Ricky, how about this? I call them rapid fire questions, but don't feel like you're on the spot and you have to answer real quick because it can just, incite more conversation. But I've got a few that I'd like to throw your way. You up for it?
Oh, I love it, man. Enjoy the challenge.
Okay. Culture or talent? What do you feel is more important?
Culture,
Leadership or expertise?
leadership, of course.
How about one quality every great coach must possess?
Love for his players. I mean, I think we're breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little bit choppy.
The best lesson. Yeah, I heard that. Let's try this again, and I'll edit it. One quality every great coach must possess.
Love for his players.
Okay. How about the best lesson you've learned from an athlete?
Oh, the best lesson I've learned from an athlete. That regardless of the principles and the things that you have, you must be a doer of those things. Discipline is really, really powerful.
Nice. the most overrated coaching buzzword?
Do you know any coaching buzzwords? I don't really know that many. Like what's a coaching buzzword?
Oh, like drive,
Drive,
perseverance,
perseverance.
stick-to-itiveness, or
Yeah. The overrated ones. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know that I would say anything's really overrated. I think if it's overemphasized, the way I look at it is if you get a pie and it's called truth pie, this is the pie. It's all truth. But if you cut a sliver of it and just take that, haven't you lost something? So all great truths sort of connect together. So I don't think you want to be very like fixated on one thing. I mean, I know you want to get your catchy phrase that the guys kind of lean on for that year, but really there's a holistic approach. I think, yeah, I think anything
okay.
overemphasized is not good, even if it's a good thing.
Okay. Which are more difficult, hard conversations or hard workouts?
Wow. You got great questions, man. Um,
Thank you.
I think that hard conversations are 10 times harder for especially kids nowadays. I've talked to the Rockies mental skills coach, and he said that they're recruiting people that they can't have a conversation with a teammate. They're struggling to, you know what I mean? So they're disconnected. So I think hard conversations by far right now is a big challenge.
Wow. Okay. What's
Maybe
more
we
important,
do it by 10.
accountability or empathy?
Accountability or empathy. Wow. Can I say empathetic accountability? No. Um, um, accountability or empathy. I don't know. Those are so intertwined. I think that a lot of coaches, that's like the way I'll answer this is that I think that the Bible says that the law came through Moses. In other words, this idea of trying to be perfect and you have to earn your way, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. And the word grace and truth there are one and the same. They're really the same because of the way it's pluralized and the way it's done. It treats grace and truth as one thing. So accountability, I'd say, is on the truth side, and empathy is on the grace side. But they say that grace without truth isn't grace, and truth without grace isn't grace. So I think accountability without empathy isn't really accountability, and empathy without accountability isn't really empathy.
Oh, you hit that one out of the park. Well done. Well done. I've got one more, maybe. If every coach could improve one skill tomorrow, what would it be?
Knowing themselves.
That's a tall order, but I like it.
Yeah.
Dang. Do you travel around and do workshops, conferences? How do you get the message out there in your work?
Yeah, I do my best to. I'd love to talk to coaches and stuff like that who want to improve. Athletic director talk to me. I might go talk to some coaches. I'm willing to do workshops. I mean, I have a preset whole workshop on this program. But again, I want people to understand it is a peak performance model. You're going to get the best out of your kids. The byproduct is this incredible character and just a great time. Like it's really a more powerful way to go. I wish I had known it. It's not like I'd known this before, but if I had the same body, I'd be a heck of a more competitive guy than I used to be.
And okay, Ricky Scruggs. First of all, I just want to say thanks again for coming on, putting aside some of your time so that you can
Thank
share
you
a
for having me,
conversation with
man.
me.
This is one of the best questions. I mean, you're just right there with it all. I don't know if you got notes or what, but it's really good. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad I'm coming up to your level of appreciation, and that means a lot to me. Now, if people wanted to learn more about you, or you do any type of social media or whatever it is,
Yeah.
here's a chance to just share, and
I
I'll
got a web.
make sure it's in the description below the podcast.
Yeah, I'm like any coach. I got a website, rickyscruggs.com. The book's on Amazon. One of the most complimentary things you could do for me is pick up that book and write me an honest review. I want feedback on it. It's the best compliment I got was that you could read it in one day, a guy told me, and that it was spiritually sound without being preachy, which I really appreciated him saying. I don't want to ever preach at anybody. And don't need to, because I got no right to. I got nothing. I'm just learning all this stuff. And so, but yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm on all the things, Instagram, TikTok, Google me. I'm going to be around. I love this work. I'm passionate about this work, and I'll make it work out to go wherever I got to go to try to tell people, because I think this is really amazing. A kid who was coached this way, or an adult team that was coached this way, when life gets hard, they really will have the tools they need to withstand it and come out on the other side better, and everybody around them as well.
Fantastic. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you, Rocky, man. And if I can ever do anything more, I don't know. You're in the strength and conditioning space, huh?
Oh yes, through and through.
Yeah, I'd love to chat with you a little bit after we shut it down. I'm interested in hearing about what you do.
And that's it for this episode of the Zelos Podcast. I can't thank Ricky enough for coming on. And be sure to check out the description below the podcast for information on how to get his book and check out his coaching and so on. Be sure to check out my website, rockysnyder.com, for online courses as well as the podcast archives. We've got online courses like exploring foot wedges, open and closed chain foot mobilization, posture-based soft tissue mobilization, and soon enough there's going to be one on ACL resiliency. And hopefully I'll see you in Providence, Rhode Island. Just go to performbetter.com and check out their summit, August 20th to the 23rd, maybe? Well, at least I'll be there that long. We'll see you next week. Remember to check out metabolicelite.co. Check out all the products they have on their website. Synapsin Pro is something I've been using to help stay focused without having to over-caffeinate myself. It keeps me in the zone so I can just really hone in on the things I need to achieve without feeling like, man, I gotta reach for an energy drink every 5 minutes. Metabolicelite.co. And don't forget, Kinetic IQ. They've got markerless motion capture for morons like me. I can use their product with my iPhone or my iPad. I can look at posture analysis, movement analysis of any exercise, gait analysis. It gives me everything I could possibly want when tracking people's movements. So, check out kinetikiq.com.